Hi everyone! Today we have a very special live chat just in time for Valentine's Day. I'd like to welcome Barbara Summers, author of Next, A Matchmaker's Guide to Finding Mr. Right, Ditching Mr. Wrong, and Everything in Between. In this high-spirited guide to finding love, Barbara claims there are many someones for everyone, and we're going to talk a lot more about the book in just a second. And before that, I just wanted to remind our viewers that we are giving away a first date essentials kit, and we have everything you need for a first date in this pretty little clutch bag. So Barbara, I just wanted to thank you so much again for joining us.
Well, thank you.
Lovely to have you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And a little bit more about her matchmaking business. It started in 1986, and she's engineered the match for hundreds of married couples. And she also works as a relationship coach, and she leads seminars and workshops on topics such as how to keep a relation hot, handling a divorce, just a slew of things that will help you in your everyday love life. So without further ado, Barbara, can you tell us a little bit more about Next and what inspired you to write the book?
Yes, well, Next is a great book where it takes a woman from every relationship possible, from the point of she's not in a relationship on how to get into one, once she's in one, how to handle being in one or to make sure that she's in the right one and make a decision either she stays or she leaves. Also, once the marriage actually goes into place, then it's also a decision where she's going to either keep the marriage hot and fiery or it's not working and to notice the flags. And then it takes her out of the marriage and back around again. So it's kind of like the vicious circle of life, which we all know it to be. So it's every relationship stage, which is amazing because it's not just about dating, it's about everything.
Right. Now, Jessica has a question. It's a great one. She says, how has the dating world changed since you launched your professional matchmaking business in 1986?
Well, back then, there obviously wasn't an internet and there wasn't, online dating. And which I still seem to believe that the absolute best way to actually meet someone through friends, family, or your colleagues, so that you know the person.
Right.
But since online dating, it's become a big trend. Obviously, there's a lot of risks involved. There's a lot of lying going on. So you have to really be cautious with the fast speed of the way the dating world seems to be now versus back then. So I do believe that the best way to meet someone is I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you have any plans for Valentine's Day? What do you kind of do for that special day? Bren wants to know.
Well, to tell you the truth, Valentine's Day is interesting in my life because my husband's birthday is February the 12th, which always is kind of too close to Valentine's Day. So do we celebrate his birthday? Do we celebrate Valentine's Day? Do we celebrate them both? So for me, it's a big hullabaloo. It's a 3-day whirlwind. So we do everything. We do. And one of my favorite things I've done in the past was to kind of kidnap my husband, think he's going to dinner at some hotel, and then have already the room already organized with some of his favorite things, and take him up the elevator, and he doesn't know that he's spending the night there and having breakfast the next morning. So that's always been a fun
that's
surprise.
Amazing. Yeah, that's
Nothing
amazing.
good like. Thank you.
That's great. Shelley has a question just about healthy relationships in general. She wants to know, what are 3 factors that contribute to a healthy relationship?
The first thing is that you are whole yourself. It's important that you got yourself in a good place, that you personally on a project, that you've taken time to work on yourself and you got all the tools you need to move forward. The second one is to really evaluate the person that you're going out with or seeing, and making sure that not only is the quality of life there, but also the similarities and the trust, and building a good foundation in a relationship is first and foremost. And the third thing probably would be that the respect is always in place. I think respect is the number one issue in relationships. So those 3 things are quite important.
Louisa wants to know, what is the most frequent problem that you see with people and couples in general?
I think it's back to the lack of, actually the word again, respect comes to mind, or just being plateaued in a relationship where they lose sight of, being respectful, taking care of each other, being considerate. They start to take themselves for granted, and a fizzles out, and then people either start cheating or they start getting bored, and then it all falls apart.
Right.
The communication probably is the number one factor, not being in good communication with the other person.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, Bren says you co-authored this book with Carrie Blakely. What was it like working with her? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that is a great story because I interviewed writers, thinking, okay, because here I am, I'm right there with Goldie Hawn and Cher and Olivia Newton-John. I'm all in that same arena age-wise, and I tried interviewing men and women alone to help co-author my book because obviously I'm not a writer, and it seemed like I couldn't get a response because they were just writing it so old because I'm playful and fun and I have a young spirit about myself. So I was introduced to a friend, to Carrie Blakely. And here Carrie went to Berkeley. She right now is 34 years old. She'd already written a great book, Crazy Like a Fox. And just her sense of humor, just her youthful spirit, kind of the two of us played off each other, and it was great. I would say things and then she would turn it around, and it turned out great. So I'm so appreciative of her.
Perfect collaboration.
Great.
Now, yeah. So you mentioned before red flags and kind of recognizing them in a failing relationship. What are some red flags that people should know about?
Well, there's a lot of them, and it's unfortunate because as women we want so much to be in love, and we want that love to stay, and we try really hard to make that happen for ourselves. So we don't see the red flags, but many times the guy is showing up on a date and he's asking you, do you have any money? Can you pay the bill? And we think, oh, well, he's just down on his luck. Or, the guy, shows up and he's, he can't drive because he's been drinking too much. And we think, oh, God, hopefully he doesn't have a drinking problem. He just had a really bad day. Or, you're dating him and next thing you know, he's got lipstick on his collar, that he's been out with a girl for lunch and, oh, maybe that's his, sister. So we unfortunately don't look at the flags we should be looking at and questioning, and sometimes self-esteem plays a big role in that. So we need to kind of watch for flags, address them as they appear, and communicate immediately.
Yeah,
it's always
you
good.
Heard that, ladies. Yeah, things to look out for. Now, when did you first realize that you wanted to play Matchmaker? When did that
When did
start?
I want to be a matchmaker? Is that what you mean?
When did you first realize, wow, this is something that I can really, do, and you were really interested in?
That's a very good question because I've been putting people together seriously since I was before junior high school. I was fixing up my friends in grade school. I was always like, as soon as you're old enough to have a boyfriend, I think that was my calling. And my very first match was my brother and my sister-in-law of 38 years now. And I remember my brother saying, oh, she's geographically undesirable. That used to be an old term. And I said, no, she's not. She's a perfect woman for you. So 38 years later. And so I just parlayed that into a great business and started off slow and just built a great rapport with San Diego clientele. It's been wonderful.
That's amazing. My next question was actually, do you play Matchmaker to your friends or do you try to avoid it? And you said, it was a relative that you first matched together. Do you try to stay away from that? Do you ever find that it's kind of too close to home, or does it not matter?
Well, it's not so much matchmaking that I do because I do a lot of relationship counseling, but I find my friends who have maybe some troubled areas in their relationships, whether it's their husband or a guy they've seen, if I'm out on the golf course, I find them wanting to get some expertise advice. Now, Barbara, what do you think I should do? He's doing this, he's doing that. So it's fine. I like that a lot. It's helpful. Everything's a trade-off with friendship. So, David, we lost her. I think I lost my visual right here. Oh, okay, we're back. I don't know what happened now. We're back again. Don't go away.
Perfect.
Don't go away. Okay.
Now, Chelsea has a question. She says, how are your clients screened and interviewed? What's the process like?
Well, first of all, I used to take women and men in my matchmaking service, but for the last about 8 years, I've only taken male clients. And at this point in my background, I would say 90% of my clients are referred by other clients, people that know what I do. And because I was writing the book and doing counseling and seminars, I chose to take, I think last year I took 30 clients. I only took 30 men last year that I wanted to work for. And for some reason, my clientele has been strongly with, I don't know, maybe because they don't have lives or they don't really socialize, but it's been with doctors and lawyers. I've had a lot of doctors and attorneys as clients in the last 5 years or so. But they seem to be hand-holding a lot. That's good.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why did it turn to all men in the last 8 years? That's really interesting.
You know, because the truth of the matter is, I loved working with women, but I found that with everything I was doing, it was a little bit more difficult working with the women, and it was easier for me to work with men and then look for the women that I know and could find and start doing the interview process with, and have them not paying and have the men paying, which worked out great, actually. So women call me all the time. They ask me if I have, you know, a client that would maybe best suit them, and I either meet them for coffee or I do an interview on the phone or I, you know, Skype with them or something. So it works better for me to go out and look for the women.
That's really cool. Bren says, in the book, you talk about people waiting until later in life to find their match. What factors do you think contribute to that trend of people waiting until later in life? Well,
unfortunately, the divorce rate pretty much in the marriage category is 50%. 50% of all marriages are failing. That kind of tells you either the communication's not working, people are not really thinking things out too properly, they're making, you know, quick decisions on marriage, or whatever the reasons are that our marriage statistics are so horribly wrong. So I think people waiting, cultivating a relationship, building trust and communication, and really securing a good position with another person is, I think it's a good thing. I think it's really good. It's going to keep for long-term marriages, I believe.
Yeah. Now back to kind of the online dating, because I think it's really relevant. Like, you know, everyone's on Tinder and OkCupid and Match.com. And I'm not sure if you mentioned before whether, do you recommend it? Do you think that it's kind of risky? What do you think? Louisa wants to know, has it hurt or helped people in their dating endeavors in general?
I think this is a tricky question. I think I've always said this before. I think online dating should be the very last resource. If you live in an area that there's not really a lot of a pool of single men to choose from, and you have to do the online dating, that's great. But if you are at a point that you have to do that, I think you have to be extremely careful. You have to really set yourself up for the knowledge of being secure with yourself. And I have it in the book, actually. I've listed a lot of things, if you're doing online dating, what you need to do in the process. But obviously, I believe that someone who knows you and someone who knows the person they're going to introduce you to, that's a much better way of meeting someone. I think the old-fashioned way will always be the best way.
I agree. Billy wants to know, are there some steps to make yourself ready and open to find love? Do you have any like exercises that you talk about in the book, or, you know, anything to make you more open and ready?
I think that it starts with the passions that you have as a woman to explore yourself. I think if you want love, you're going to find love. If you start with love, you know, self-love, it's going to exasperate into another person actually feeling the vibe from you. And some women, they get stale with being single too long. They don't find their passion. I say, you know, if it means, you know, going out and getting a new haircut or joining an art class or taking an exercise class or something that gets your sexy on, or whatever it is that gives you the vibe that you want to be, you know, out there looking for love and makes you feel good about it. It's all about feeling good about yourself. That's the actual truth.
Right.
And love will come to you. If you want love, it'll come. It will.
Exactly. You're appearing on The Romance, a nationally syndicated reality TV series about dating, and we have someone who has a question about that. Jared says, what can the viewers look forward to seeing, you know, you on that show and your expertise?
It's a really great concept of a show, because unlike The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, which we see where they're flying to Bora Bora and all these amazing places, and it's not real dating in the sense of, you know, what everyday dating looks like in the public eye. So it's actual single people, a group of single people that the cameras are behind, that are actually interacting with each other, dating. And I'm counseling some of the single guys in the group. I'm also talking to a couple that are going through some trials and tribulations in the dating process. So I'm involved on different levels in the show, but the show's great because it's real people with real lives, struggles, single moms, single dads, and the public gets to really see what real life looks like for a single person.
Fantastic. Dee wants to know about women settling in relationships. She says she has a friend that stays with her boyfriend because she's comfortable. So do you have any advice about that particular aspect?
Yes. Yeah, I got that in my book. Well, then get uncomfortable. We need to get uncomfortable because comfortable looks really bad. Comfortable can make you ill. That comfortable can make you very sad, depressed. You can be on antidepressants. You can gain weight. You could get a very sad heart. So what you have to feel is that there is someone out there that will love you, and not to lose sight of that, and keep yourself on purpose. If this person's not treating you the way you don't feel good about yourself when you're with this person, start evaluating that and make a change for yourself. That's why I wrote Next, because there are many steps to take, many choices, and there's a lot of next someones out there.
Mm-hmm. I heard good advice once from someone, and they said basically even if things seem good in your relationship, maybe every 6 months, reevaluate and talk and see where you're at. Do you agree with that?
Oh yes, I think that's excellent. I think people just get on a roll with being, I call it flatlined, where everything's kind of stalemate. You're doing Monday through Thursday, you're kind of doing the same thing, and on the weekend, one of the two parties is saying, well, what are we doing this weekend? And one person has to decide what's going to be exciting. I think that to go through what's been going on, say, listen, this hasn't been working. We haven't done this for a while. Maybe that would be kind of fun to do. Or remember when we used to go out on Wednesday nights and make a date night? I think that anything that creates energy. I think you need to keep the energy high-spirited in relationships to keep it happy.
Mm-hmm. Now, Jessica mentions the name of your matchmaking business, Healthy Professional Singles. She wants to know, how did you come up with the name, and were there any other names on the table that kind of crossed your mind when you were first starting?
It's a fun question. At the time, I love the girl who asked you that question. I was, when I started my practice, I was at a club in La Jolla called the Sporting Club at the Valentines, and I advertised myself in their newsletter that a matchmaker, and I was trying to start my first database and so interestingly enough, I had 200 people sign up to interview with me, and at the time, it was like a minimal fee just to meet with me, talk to me for 15 minutes. So this one girl who was in the gym said, "Oh, Barbara, what is the name of your company?" And all of a sudden, it was like this, what you see does in a cartoon with a balloon above your head with a thought pattern. I said, Healthy Professional Singles. It just came up like out of nowhere. And it just made sense to me because I was in a gym, people working out, people that are healthy, people that are professional and single. They're not usually in the bars. They're not usually, they're running after they're not really looking in the places to find someone. So that was the beginning of the beginning. So that's how that started.
That's funny. Do you have a favorite matchmaking story, or like the craziest story of bringing two people together? Is there anything that really stands out in your mind over the last few years?
Lots and lots of stories. One of my favorite, one of them, many stories, but I had an architect, a very famous architect in San Diego, and he'd been a little difficult, to find someone because very particular, everything almost to a fault, where I had to really, recheck his brain to give him a little counseling here and there. But in the meantime, I'd met a woman at a gym that at the time she was going through a divorce. She was separated, and she really was. So I said to her, I have and she said, "Oh no, Barbara." And I said, "Well, when you get out of your situation, we lost the screen again, David. I can't see her, but that's okay. I can't. You just keep coming out and on." But anyway, the point is that, can you hear me very well? There you go. You're back.
Yes.
You're back.
Perfect.
So anyway, he kept asking me, "Barbara, what about the woman that's going through a divorce, or her husband hasn't left the house?" And she was really frightened of him. He was a very, controlling man, and she was trying to get away from him. Well, I stayed with this situation because I was so positive that she was the right girl for this particular guy. And after that all came to fruition, I talked her into it. They have now been married 5 years, they thank me profusely for not bailing, to staying with the process, that I knew in my heart that those two needed to be together. So they are forever grateful. So it all worked out, thank goodness.
That's amazing. Now, do people that you've successfully matched, do they keep in touch with you? Because I'm sure you really do form a relationship when you're helping them.
Oh, yes, they do. And I get all the Christmas cards, and it's amazing. When I'll go into a grocery store and I'll see a girl I might have put with her husband, God, 10 years or 20 years ago, and they got all these children, and they're, oh, this is what the little family, Barbara, you made by putting us together. It's wonderful. It's the most rewarding business you could ever be in, truthfully.
Yeah, seriously, that's amazing. Now, Billy has a question. It's really great. She says, your book doesn't just end with finding a match, it goes above and beyond. Why did you find it important to highlight what happens after engagement?
Well, because there's so many books that, you can go to a bookstore and there's so many books on dating. And then they leave you in the dust, like what happens after you date? Okay, what happens if the relationship isn't right? What happens if the guy's doing ABC? How do you get out of it? How do you decide to stay in it? And then you leap into marriage and you think it's the perfect marriage, and all of a sudden things are going sideways. And how do you actually evaluate staying, leaving, working on it to a point where it's not going anywhere? So I wanted to take the book, Carrie and I both talked about this, we wanted to have the book go full circle. So if this book, you read it today, but 6 months from now you're married, and I gotta pick that book up again and look up chapter 7 or 8 or whatever it is that you need to reevaluate in your relationship. It's a book that you could keep forever. You could give it to a person. It's got all kinds of good things in it, all the way around.
Do you have any plans to write another book after this? What kind of angle would you take if you did something else?
Carrie and I talked about that, and we were actually, the sense of humor the two of us I had, we said, well, it could be next with the number 2, nothing. It could be next to nothing or next to something, or we have all these ideas, but I think predominantly we'd want to focus obviously in the relationship field, and we don't know what angle we would take on that, but obviously it would be something to empower women and help them in relationships. It would be another knowledgeable book or another guide of some kind.
Right. Now, I love the cover of the book. I love the matte, black nails and the red lips. Did you guys kind of collaborate on that? Did you have any influence in choosing the cover?
My publisher was great. Select Books did a great job with me, because we had this conversation, and then he said, how do you visualize this, Barbara? I said, in the word next, like next thought, next choice, next move I have to make. If you think about that from a woman's standpoint, you're going to take your hands and, when we're thinking as women, we kind of put our fingers up to her head like, oh God, you look up at the ceiling and you're kind of like, oh my God. So I saw it that way, where it would be a mindful thought of what to go, what to do. And they kind of came up with the whole concept of the color scheme, because I'm a big red fan. I love red. And the nails predominantly. So, and obviously lips. I don't know anybody who doesn't like to look at a pair of lips, men, women alike. So it all worked out. It's great. I'm very excited about the cover. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Clark wants to know, what do you consider to be the perfect first date? Is there something in mind that you think of?
I get asked that. I probably get asked that every day. And I think it depends on the person and how you're meeting the person. If it's a friend who's got a friend, if it's an online date, I truly would take your own car, obviously, make it a daytime date, make it something during the day in a very safe, open environment with a lot of people around. That's a brunch is a great place to go. It's not breakfast, it's not lunch. And if you meet somebody for brunch, and go for a walk on the beach, or if you don't live on the beach area, just go for a walk around the block just to talk or something. And then if it's right, you've got the rest of the day to say, what are you doing this afternoon? Or would you like to get together tonight? So the whole day can play out. If it's a matchmaker or it's someone that's real comfortable with you and the person you're meeting, I think then an evening date is fine. But I always insist that the woman take her own car, no matter what. I want the girl, and do not, I hope women are listening to me, do not let, under any circumstance, a man walk you back to your car on the first date. People say, why would that be? You just never know. It's nighttime. just say, I'm fine, let's get together later, or whatever. If you're comfortable, call me, or I'll call, whatever the situation is. But I don't like the interaction back to the car thing. Too many things have happened,
Yeah, that's great advice. I read an article the other day, and it was like the top 10, least awkward least awkward ideas for dates, and I thought it was hysterical. Do you ever tell anyone like ways to avoid awkward encounters? I mean,
yes, of course. Yes, absolutely. You just don't want, even if it's, interestingly enough, this girl was not somebody I had introduced, but she had met a man online. It's a great story. She's from San Diego, and she met a man in LA that told her he was an ex-professional basketball player. After about 4 dates, actually, he ended up pushing his way through her home. He knew where she lived because she let him bring her home, so he knew where she lived. And he tried to strangle her, actually. And
oh my gosh.
Called the police. Oh, it was awful. She had restraining orders on him. She had the police at her house. He broke through a window. So even though he looked like Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. 6'6", you just don't know. You just don't know. So I think women need to be extremely, extremely safe with themselves at all times.
Absolutely. Speaking about women in relationships, why do you think so many women think that they're unworthy of love? That's a question from Bridget.
You know what? That comes from a lot of sources. It could come from family. It could come from an ex-boyfriend. It could come from a former husband. Someone has put that in their heads, and it's stuck like glue, unfortunately. And to shake it off is what women need to do. They said, you know what? Like, subconscious can't take a joke. Don't put it in there. Don't think it. Don't say it, because it's not true. You're worthy of love, and there are a lot of someones that will love you, and you just have to know it. And to get beat down by something else telling you that is a terrible place to be. So that's why I wrote the book. I really want to reach women and get the self-esteem built up and the power to know that you can make a great decision for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now, Shelley wants to know, how do you define a successful match? What's like the quintessential parts to that?
A successful match is great respect, good communication. It's judging a woman on her end, how she feels about herself at the end of the day. Does this guy make me feel really great? Do I feel celebrated? Do I feel like he cherishes me? Do I feel loved? If you answer that question, not really. He forgot me on Valentine's Day. He ran out and bought a card the day of my birthday, at 9 o'clock at night. He said he was walking the dog, but he didn't come back for half an hour because he was running out to get a card. You want to second guess that you're not that important. So, and then also someone who takes time to understand and listen to you and makes plans for the future. You want the whole enchilada. I'm sorry, but women, you can get it. You can get everything you want. You just have to believe it and know it.
Right. Now, when you're not, bringing people together and coaching, doing relationship coaching, what are activities that you like to do in your spare time to unwind?
Well, my first and foremost favorite thing is I have an Australian Labradoodle. I think you saw Lexi in the background somewhere.
He was behind.
She's running around the house someplace. I'm a big dog person, and I love taking my dog for long beach walks and just getting out in the fresh air. And I love to walk, but I also like to work out. I'm a big spin person. I love to take spin classes, I like to weight train. And I've always enjoyed going to the gym, but and beaches and swimming and things like that. Of course, my husband would laugh. He'd say, my wife is a swimmer as long as she can find a side to swim to. I'm not an ocean swimmer. I've got to find a side like a pool to get to. I don't want any sharks or anything coming after me.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's a smart move in my book.
That's good.
So Emily has an overall question. She says, what's the best piece of advice you have for someone who is looking for love?
If you're looking for love, in the sense of how to look for love or what to do with herself, which direction does she want that answer for? Which way?
I think it just says best piece of advice you have for someone who is looking for love. I think it's open to interpretation.
I think to be, I've lost you on the screen again, so hopefully you can still see me. I don't know, David.
I can see you.
Okay, I can't see you, but that's all right. I'll pretend I can. I can. But anyway, the whole point is that you're looking for love. Just know it, feel it, put it out there. Tell everyone you know, I mean, it could be the grocery guy that's bagging your groceries. Tell everybody that you started dating, you can't wait to meet someone, and just feel good about yourself. Put yourself in a good place to know that if you love yourself, that you're going to find love, and it's going to happen. It can happen in a grocery store. It could be, I say in my book, different situations on how to make eye contact, how to connect in the single world, and there's a lot of great chapters on that. So if a person wants to find love, they're going to find it. Trust me. Anything we really want as women, we're going to get. That's for sure.
Right. Positive messages from Barbara Summers. Yeah, positivity all the way. And I just want to thank you so much again for joining us. And I want to tell everyone to enter to win the First Date Essentials Kit. We're also giving away a copy of Next on our slider on the BookTrib homepage. So please stop on over and enter to win. And it was lovely speaking to you, and we just loved having you.
Thank you, Amanda. I hope to be back sometime soon, and I wish you the best, and happy Valentine's Day, of course.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day to you, too. Take care.
Okay, girl. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, sweetie.
Bye.
Bye, hon.